Right then, 50, the big 50. I mean, it lands, doesn't it? You know, it feels like a big number, maybe even the big number. You know, the one that gets you thinking about time, where you've been, maybe even kicks off that whole midlife crisis thing that people talk about. But hang on, right? Is it an ending? Or, and bear with me here, is it more like half time? Look, I know what you're thinking. Half time, Clive, I'm not living to 100. Okay, maybe not exactly half time. Think about it in terms of your adult life, yeah? From 20 onwards. It's half time in that if you think that the average lifespan is 80 in the Western world. So it is half time in terms of your adult life. 50 smack in the middle. So forget the old idea that it's all downhill from here. Honestly, research has shown that loads of people feel like they're just getting started at 50. 50 is the new 40 and all of that, and are finally figuring things out. Some even say the 50s can be the best decade yet. That's certainly how I saw it at the beginning. And to be honest, 7 years in, oh yeah, I'm only 57. It's kind of panning out like that. Sure, there's been some frustrations, there's been pain points, but overall, I'd say, yeah, it's been pretty good. It's less about chasing the youth. You know, the past is gone. Don't be one of these saddos who holds on to those past glories. You know what I mean? Like, the past is the past. This is more about grabbing the wheel and deciding where you actually want to go. That's why I call this channel Level 50. Think of it like hitting the top level in a game. You've got the skills, you've got the experiences, you've maxed out on all those things in the game. There's no boss level you can't handle now you're level 50. I've been thinking a lot about this turning point in our life, especially as I said, I'm 7 years into this. And I pulled together the 10 things that seem to really matter as you hit this level. Some of this I did, some I didn't do, and some I should have done in retrospect. Oh man. It's not a strict rule book, it's just stuff to chew on, to contemplate, and all of that. Ideas to help you make this next chapter for you brilliant. Yeah, I know it's cheesy and all of that, like some sort of American well-being podcast, but please bear with me. Before I dive in, can I just ask a quick favor? I noticed that the percentage of people who watch this video that aren't subscribed is quite significant. So you can change that and help me out by hitting that subscribe button, toggling that notification bell, and that way you'll know when I upload videos like this, and hopefully it'll help me improve the video. So do that and I'd be really grateful. Anyway, here's your top 10. Number 1, rethink your thinking. Get real, get grateful. Now, this is a big one. It's often when you start ditching the worry about what others think of you. I mean, we go through life a lot, especially in our teens, and then maybe in our 20s, we might get through it. I think when I got to about 27, 28, I was sort of finally comfortable in my skin in terms of, you know, relaxed and cool and deciding who I was as a person and, you know, my fashion tribe and all those kind of nonsense and stuff like that. And I was in a pretty happy place at sort of my late 20s. And then more adulting takes over and your career and stuff. And then you're comparing yourself with the kind of career bros and all that kind of stuff around you. And you get caught up into that kind of career rat race. But as you get older, and maybe as you take a step back from that kind of career rat race and comparing yourself to the neighbors and who's on Instagram and all that kind of rubbish, you realize that feeling that you belong in life starts from inside you. Not from getting nods of approval and chasing those nods of approval from other people. It's about accepting who you are. All your flaws. You're not going to be changing much now. A leopard never changes its spot. When you're 50, your flaws are kind of your flaws. Accept them. And if you've been a bit of a dick in your life, accept it that you're a bit of a dick in your life and maybe look at pulling back on that. Not sure that's quite the right expression to go with describing someone as being a dick, but bear with me. The point is, you are who you are, but maybe trying to be slightly better version of you, a kind of version of yourself, and learning just to be with whatever's happening, good or bad, instead of constantly fighting it. Ditch that comparison game. We live in a social media world, you know, whether it's Facebook for your boomers. I'm joking, you know, I just don't like Facebook. Facebook for your boomers, your Instagrams, compare, oh, look at that alpha bro man and he's kind of driving his Porsche and his 20-year-old girlfriend on it. Yeah, he looks a dick. Yeah, ditch that comparison game. Comparison really is the thief of joy. Honestly, take a step back, take a chill pill, and just accept who you are. Forget about comparisons. When I started out on YouTube, I used to do live streaming on another channel, and I had other people in the community, YouTube community, who did it. And I was constantly comparing myself with them. And, oh my God, how come they're getting so many subscribers? And, I need to be the best. And no, I should kind of enjoy the fact that they're part of a community and that they're doing well and that I'm doing well. Concentrate on me, not what other people are doing or what other people think. Yeah. So number one, be grateful, rethink your life a little bit. Number two, much more practical, look after yourself properly. Oh my God, you can't just wing it anymore. Health needs a real proactive approach. When I was in my 20s, my 30s, I was fairly kind of reckless and crazy and stuff like that. But equally, I used to go to the gym 3 times a week. Yeah, feeling pretty fit and all of that. But then at the end of the week, I also used to go out drinking and maybe having a hangover in the morning, go down a greasy spoon, have a nice fry up, living the life, you know what I mean? And in your 20s and your 30s, you can do that. Your body and your health is much more forgiving. But over time, incrementally, like coastal erosion, that lifestyle begins to change you physically. Yeah. You just have to look at 40-something blokes, especially in the UK, who carried on that lifestyle to a certain degree. And yeah, in their heads, they think they're still that kind of 20-something that could probably get a call up to Liverpool FC. It ain't happening, bro. Not with that belly. I'm not just saying, be super fit and I'm lucky because I'm slim and all of that. I've got a little pot belly I can't get rid of. That's life at 50, unless you're kind of, one of these people that hard canes it. And I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about being proactive, moving your body, not just cardio. And that's the thing. Look, hey, often of the time I take the mickey out of mammals, middle-aged men in lycra, stretching on their pink lycra and cycling around the countryside on a Sunday. Hey, look, hats off to them. At least they're keeping fit. But you know what? That's not enough. It's not about the cardio. If anything, what takes priority over cardio, or should do when you get to your 50s, is strength training. And this is something a lot of people in their 50s miss. This is not to get buff like some sort of alpha male. Not talking about that. This is about just standing still, to be honest, because muscle dystrophy in your 50s increases significantly. Honestly, you start to lose that strength and lose that muscle. Stuff that you took for granted in your 30s and 40s, it starts to go away unless you keep up with a bit of strength training. You don't have to buy yourself a gym or convert the garage into a super gym or anything like that. It's just about incorporating some strength training, whether that's just press-ups. There's a YouTuber I watch who's 70 and his body's pretty buff, to be honest, at 70. He just does press-ups and pull-ups. That's it. Press-ups one day, pull-ups the next day. And he says that's what got him buff. And I've started doing some of that. I mean, I do a bit of weight training. Again, I'm not trying to get super buff or look like, insert your muscle kind of person here, whatever, you're Jason Statham in Transport or anything like that. I wish. I'm just talking about maintaining the muscles. And you know what, actually, if you are a bit unfit or you're carrying a bit of weight or anything like that, it doesn't take much to start reversing that process. You might level off after a while, but initially you will see progress. My neighbour's not perhaps the fittest bloke in the world, and I think he had a slight health scare. And now I see him walking slowly, but he walks every day, goes for an walk. He never used to, but I see him walking every day, going for a walk. And you know what? Over the last few weeks, I've seen an improvement in him. So it doesn't matter what fitness level you are, start getting fit now. And hey, if you want to spend £3,500 on a carbon fibre racing bike and think you're doing the Tour de France, knock yourself out. That's a start. But don't neglect the strength exercises, yeah? The strength stuff is there to keep the muscles and joints working. It helps with flexibility, and seriously, balance exercise is another thing to stop you taking from a tumble. Now, I know what you're thinking. You go, I'm not on OAP yet, Clive. But honestly, building on that balance, and strength training does that. As I say, it's not all about looking buff. It's about maintaining strong muscles so that you don't have those injuries that are going to take you out of the game for a while. The other thing, of course, parallel to that, is eating decent food matters. And yeah, protein. Again, this is not just something for bodybuilders and for gym bunnies. No, as you get older, we need more protein to maintain that muscle. So proteins, vitamins, I take various vitamin supplements. Do they work? I don't know. But even if they work on a placebo level, I'm happy with that. Your body might start struggling to absorb things like B12, vitamin D, calcium. So you need to kind of find ways of getting that in. You can't abuse your body like you did in your 20s and 30s. As I said, going down the pub back in the day, having fry-ups. I look at my teenage son, right? He's taller than me. He eats non-stop. He is the blooming hungry caterpillar. He's constantly eating. He's constantly having his Pepsi Maxes all the time. And yet he looks like a piece of bamboo. He's a right little skinny noodle. But when you're in your teenage, you can get like that. As long as you go out and do a bit of exercise. He plays football twice a week and stuff like that. And then he's got his stuff at school. So he does exercise, but he's a teenager. So he just burns all that stuff off. Your metabolism ain't anything like that when you hit 50. So you just need to be aware of it. And then the other thing is, don't skip the checkups. Blood pressure, cholesterol, cancer screenings. Don't hide from them. You know, every so often, I'm in the UK here, I'll get a letter from the NHS or something saying, oh, we're doing free test screenings or whatever it is. Or, one involved basically putting a piece of my poop in an envelope and sending it off for a test. Charming, I thought. Who is opening those envelopes? But yeah, honestly, that's a real thing. I'd already had a blood test for cancer screening because of a prostate issue I had. And it was all fine. So I knew I was all fine. I still did this free cancer check that was on offer. Why not? Go and see your doctor. It's not about vanity. It's about staying functional and feeling good. I remember I had a sort of a mini midlife crisis. I don't know whether it was a midlife crisis, but basically I'd come out of a long-term relationship. The first thing I did was buy a new car. Of course I did, because I had a really boring family car, a Nissan Note. No disrespect if you drive a Nissan Note. It ain't that, is it? So I bought myself a little Mini Cooper S. Yeah, I could bomb around in it. I thought it was more me, but I neglected the car. I didn't get it serviced on a regular basis. I ignored problems when it had problems. And you know what? Over the next 2-3 years, it cost me a blooming fortune. I had to have the engine completely rebuilt. And that's because I didn't do regular checkups, keep the oil up to date and all those things. Now I've got a new car, a Mini Countryman S. And I tell you what, that gets serviced twice a year, regular checkups, make sure the oil's always filled up, because this car's going to have to last me a long time. And so far, touch wood, it is. It's the same with your body. Just keep with the checkups and your body will last longer. And of course, sleep. Oh my God. Don't underestimate decent sleep. If you've got one of those sleep apps, get that, monitor it. I'm sleeping a lot less. I don't know whether it's the sunlight coming in or, as I said, I have a slight prostate issue, which means, I have to go to the wee a bit more than I used to. And I think that maybe wakes me up a bit earlier in the morning. So it's important that you get your decent sleep, because that's when your body goes to work, your cells go to work, starts repairing itself. Anyway, health and fitness, there you go. Number 3, financial fitness, financial MOT, if we want to carry on that kind of car analogy. Okay, so we're talking money here. Your 50s are often your peak earning years, okay? You've gone up that greasy pole in your career maybe. You kind of peaked out on the earnings. Maybe you get a little pay rise each year. But where are you going in your career? Are you really going to kind of have another big leap in earnings? Maybe if you went to another company, maybe if you got poached. But those real big earning leaps tend to happen in your 30s and 40s. Maybe you're on cruise control. I certainly was in my 50s. When I hit 50s, I was finding that, I was well experienced in my job. I found it easy to do. I could do it in my sleep. I was on cruise control. The money was all right. So yeah, you're often in your peak earning years. But you know what? At 50, retirement isn't miles away anymore. When you were 35, 50 seemed years away. Okay, now you're 50, 65 might seem years ago. Maybe you want to retire at 60. 10 years isn't that long. It's not miles away anymore. It's crunch time. Now is when you need to start planning. You need to know where you stand in terms of assets, debts, the lot. Are your savings on track? Are your pension on track? Can you max out those catch-up contributions that you might get whatever country you're in, in terms of your pension, in terms of your national insurance? If you're in the UK, the government allows people over 50 to stock up their national insurance, things like that. Look at how your money's invested. Maybe it's time to be a little bit more less risky. Don't ditch the growth completely, but hey, the times we're living in right now could show you that those risky investments are genuinely a risk. So maybe look at your portfolio if you have one and things like that. Another key thing is tackle high interest debt. Oh my God, credit cards have been the bane of my life. I've cleared all my credit cards now. And when I look back, there were credit card debts that even though I wasn't using my credit card for 5-6 years, I was still paying off £300, £400 a month in credit card debts. From debts of living my life in my 40s or, even early 50s. Tackle that high interest debt. You're paying something like 27% APR on that debt. And you'll be paying that because the minimum payments are set so that you're never going to clear it. If you're paying the minimum amount, you are never, ever going to clear your credit card debt. Yeah. And when you're 60 or in your late 50s thinking, I'm fed up with work, I want to give this all up. And you look at what money you need to retire and you've still got those debts, they can be a big chunk. And these are debts for stuff that you bought maybe 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 15 years ago, and you're paying for it now. So if you can tackle that interest debt at 27% APR, you can't get an investment that good. Think about if you could clear your debts in 5 years instead of, say, 10 years. Think about that investment that you're making for those 5 years that you've cleared that debt off at 27% APR. That's a pretty good return. If you think about it in those terms, it is a kind of investment. And make those high interest debts your priority. Honestly, I wish I'd done that a lot earlier, because when you start thinking, I'm fed up with working and all of that, it gives you a lot more options if you're close to being debt free. And think about obviously future costs as well. If you're in the US, think like healthcare and stuff like that and long-term care. But most of all, just get your financial house in order. Okay, number 4, finding your why beyond the 9 to 5. But many of you, like kids, might have flown the nest. Careers might have shifted into kind of a stasis. Like I said, you're sort of treading water, just doing the same thing like a treadmill every day. And it often sparks the question at 50, like, what really matters now? What genuinely makes you tick? I think the pandemic and working from home showed many people that there's more to life than career. If you think about it, when you commuted, I certainly commuted, that meant I was leaving the house at 7 and I wasn't getting back until after 7. So that's when you're working in a way. You're working from the moment you close your front door in the morning to the moment you open your front door in the evening. And for many people who are commuting, that can be 12 hours plus. Work becomes your whole life, Monday to Friday, 40 weeks of the year, more if you're in America, genuinely 40 weeks of the year, 12-hour days you're doing. Don't kid yourself you're working a 9 to 5, not if you have to commute, because you're in no fit state when you get back. I certainly was after a commute. I'd get back at between 7 and 8 in the evening. I was pooped. I can't be bothered to do anything in the evening. Eat, watch telly, slouch on the couch. That was it. So maybe now it's time to think about what you want to do in life. Use your experience differently. Maybe look at consulting, teaching, starting something new. Maybe volunteering for a cause that you care about, finding a new focus in life, or maybe picking up that guitar. I know that screams midlife crisis, but maybe in your 20s or 30s, you played the guitar and then adulting took over, family life, kids, all of that. Maybe you're into painting, anything like that. It's not too late to pick those things up again and find that buzz. What gives you a buzz in life? Now's the time to find it. Find a sense of purpose beyond just earning a crust. We kind of often fall into a career. And as I said, then the career becomes our whole focus and everything else is neglected. All our dreams that we had before, all our kind of passions get squished down and then forgotten about, lost behind our focus of this career. Find that buzz again. Number 5. Tend to your tribe. You realize at 50 that, actually, it's not about having hundreds of contacts, having massive loads and loads of people, on Facebook or loads of WhatsApp groups or whatever it is that, you kids have these days. It's about finding those few people who've really got your back. Invest time in those key people. You've probably heard of the 80-20 or the 20-80 principle. It's called the Pareto principle. And it applies to economics. Well, actually, it applies to so many things in life, just coincidentally. The concept was derived by an Italian economist called Pareto, who was basically stating that, 20% of the wealth is owned by 80% of the people. I mean, how they laughed at him. It's even worse now. But anyway, that's a different subject matter. But the Pareto principle, that 80-20, applies to so many things in life. And one of them perhaps could be your friends. It's about the minority is where you get the real value. And maybe that's true with family, friends, your tribe. It's the minority that gives you the maximum value. So concentrate on that minority, those few people in your life, the key people, whether it's your partner, your family, your proper mates, you know what I mean? Those that have got your back. They're the ones that give you value. They're the ones you should put your effort in over the 80%, as it were. So make the effort. And stay open to making new connections, often through shared interests or volunteering. As humans, we're wired for connection. But look, I'm going to put my hand up here. This is one of my regrets. I don't know if it is regret. I'm still going through contemplating this. I remember my sister said to me, again, following on the pandemic, I was working from home a lot more, and I was really comfortable with that. I've got all the gear you could dream of to work from home because I used to do YouTube and streaming. And so when I was starting to do the Zoom calls at work and stuff, I was sorted. I've got like a really good camera. I've got a good mic. I've got the lights. I've got the screens. I love working from home. In fact, there was no need to leave my house. I can order everything online. I can communicate online. I didn't need friends. And that's one thing that I've really neglected in my 50s. It's having friends. I don't think I've got a friend. I've got my partner, I've got my family, and I give them a lot of attention. Of course I do. They're my tribe, but that's quite a small tribe. One regret is I'm not very good at keeping up with connections. And maybe that's something I do need to address because life is richer when it's shared. Yeah. One for me to note on that one. Number 6, never stop learning. Keep that brain ticking, stay curious, learn a new language, take that online course, read books, figure out new tech. I mean, I'm trying to learn Japanese, not very well, but using Duolingo. My partner's Japanese, I thought it's only polite. Hey, I might not be doing very well, I just about say a few sentences in Japanese after 900 odd day streak on Duolingo, but at least I'm trying, at least I'm learning. I've started reading books again. I've just been finishing reading this massive book here. A Radical History of Britain. I'm learning about history of my country that I didn't even know about. Stay curious, as I said, try and find new things that you can learn, figure out new tech. I mean, I'm into AI, have a YouTube channel all about AI. YouTube, like I'm learning how to do YouTube and all of that, how to edit. I do live streaming, I learn about the software for that. I do code vibing, which is like, trying to create apps using AI programming and stuff like that. This is all new to me, but it's keeping the brain ticking over. It keeps you sharp. It connects you with people. And honestly, it's just more interesting than stagnating, than lying in bed, doom scrolling through all the toxic social media and stuff, which is, hey, I used to do. And you'd think, I'll just have a quick 5 minutes. And then an hour later, you're still doom scrolling, I put the phone out of reach now when I go to bed. So it's not within, I have to get out of bed if I want to go and get it. And instead, I read, even books with big words in them. And that in itself helps relax the brain away from the blue screen and the kind of dopamine hits you get from doom scrolling. And it kind of just sort of helps channel the brain for your sleeping. Learning doesn't have to be formal. Just keep feeding your head, staying bright and on it. Okay, number 7, stir things up. Seek adventure. Don't just settle. When I was in my 20s and 30s, I used to travel a lot. I was lucky. I remember as in my 20s, I used to go to New York twice a year. And you might think, well, that's a bit extravagant. Where do you find your money in your 20s? Well, I used to do these things called courier flights, okay? Sounds a bit dodgy. Trust me, it wasn't. It was all legit. But basically, companies used to want documents couriered over and get them signed for in New York. You could do that as an individual. You get a cheap flight. I think it was about 150 quid. Pick up a document in Heathrow, fly over to New York, spend the weekend in New York. Thank you very much. So I used to go to New York twice a year. Then adulting, as I said before, comes in play. You get settled down, you have kids and stuff. And maybe that adventure dies down a bit. Maybe like me, you end up going on holiday to the same place every year. Hey, that was great. It was fun. It was comfortable. But that's the point. Yeah. It was the comfort zone. And sometimes, yeah, sure, being comfortable is nice, but sometimes you need to travel somewhere new, push your comfort zone a bit, try that hike, learn that slightly scary skill, go skinny dipping, if you fancy it. It's about creating memories, building up a memory bank. I've mentioned it in another video about having a dividend of memories. That's much more valuable to you, memories, than just collecting stuff that one day is just going to end up in a landfill. Having fun, feeling alive, value experiences over stuff. During your 30s and 40s, you want the stuff. You want the stuff that's better than your neighbour's stuff. You want the stuff that's better than your mates at work stuff. It's just stuff. And it's going to end up in a landfill. Your memories will be with you forever. Number 8, think about your mark, your legacy in life. Now, I know that sounds all very grand, leaving a legacy, but it's very practical. Get your paperwork sorted. I'm talking your will, your power of attorney, who gets what. Check your beneficiary designations on your pensions and your insurance, for example, because often who your pension goes to, if you're in a position where your pension company allows you to give a pension to a widower or something like that, that often trumps your will. I have a friend whose partner passed away a few years ago, but he didn't leave a will. And 3 years, 4 years later, his family is still waiting for the money to come through, waiting for the mess to be sorted. And what a mess. Sort out your life, your wills and your stuff like that now, so your family don't have to worry about all that rubbish. Hopefully they'll be grieving about you or whatever it is. So they don't want, that kind of the tension of having to talk about money in an emotional time. That's how family arguments kick up and can shatter families and all those sort of things. It's about thinking about what values you want to pass on as well. It's not just about money. Maybe mentoring someone in your life or having an impact by volunteering, getting all this stuff handled, whether it's mentoring, whether it's deciding what you want to do with your money when you kind of pass away, all of that kind of stuff. It just brings peace of mind for you while you're alive and peace of mind for those that are left afterwards. Number 9, cut the clutter, simplify. Oh my God, I've talked about stuff throughout this video. Less stuff, and I'm not just talking about the physical stuff, which is, we collect too much of that anyway. The world generates too much stuff. Consumption, global capitalism. I'm not going to go all political on you, but honestly, it's about mass consumption. I saw a documentary on Netflix about the amount of stuff we consume, physical stuff, that just ends up in landfill, as I've said. We are living in the opening 20 minutes of WALL-E, the movie. Yeah? But it's not just about the physical stuff, as I said. It's about commitments as well, draining commitments. So whether it's clearing out the attic or learning to say no more often, it's about making space physically and mentally that frees you up for what actually matters in life. I mean, my partner, started helping me clear out my house, and I'd just been collecting stuff. You have kids who grow up. I had a playroom and, it's full of toys. And then, the kids get older in their teenage years. They don't play with those toys because they're toys, they're baby toys. And yet they're still in the room. And then the room becomes a collection space for junk that we've kind of collected over the time. And I tell you what, clearing that all out, rediscovering that room, making that room more practical for today's needs. It's a beautiful conservatory now with seating space where you can chill out and relax. It helps clear the mind. You know what they say, like if your life is clutter-free, your mind will be clutter-free. Focus your energy, streamline your finances, like consolidating savings or pensions. Just have less noise and more signal. And finally, number 10, be good to yourself intentionally. Now, as I said, this isn't fluffy. I don't want to sound like that well-being podcast I'm talking about, but you have to recharge your own batteries, especially if you're used to putting everyone else first. If you're like a family man or a family woman, whatever, you're a parent, whatever, you're always putting the kids first or your partner first or whatever. And that's all good. But you know what? You need to schedule time for things that bring you joy. And other people need to recognize that. Yeah. Hobbies, rest, seeing friends, whatever it is. Set your boundaries to protect your energy, the stuff that you want to do, and notice those small pleasures in life. It might sound selfish, and you may have people, I've had ex-partners in my life. I used to go for a run on a Sunday for an hour, maybe 2 hours. And my ex-partner at the time used to kind of sort of, in a way, indicate, not necessarily directly, but you know what I mean, that maybe I was being a bit selfish by leaving her home with the kids for 2 hours. But the way I looked at it is that it helped me clear my mind so that I had the energy to then give her and the kids attention. So it might have seemed I was being selfish, but actually I was doing it to make me a better person for my children and, you know, for my partner. You can't pour from an empty cup, right? So taking care of yourself is what fuels everything else. It puts you in a better position, ready to take on the needs of other people if that's what you need to do. So it's not about being selfish, you know? Look after yourself, then you can look after everybody else. So there you go. 10 things to mull over as you hit level 50. As I said, it's not an ending, not by a long shot. It's a doorway to a new chapter and one that you get to write. Use all that wisdom, all that knowledge, all the mistakes, all the good things, all the bad things, everything that you've learned in your journey to this point in your life. That's wisdom that you've earned. Stay curious, be brave, and focus on what truly makes you feel happy and fulfilled. Trust yourself. Approach it with optimism, and honestly, the best of your life might actually be yet to come. I mean, I'm having an absolute ball in my 50s. Anyway, what are your thoughts on hitting 50? What are you focusing on? Drop a comment down below. Let me know. Let's have a chat about it. I'd be really, really curious. There's lots of things I want to talk about being in your 50s and onwards and stuff like that. So put it in the comments. It really, really helps. And of course, thanks for watching. If any of this has resonated with you, then give the video a like because I like it. YouTube likes it. And it helps people like you find content just like this. Hey, and if you're new to my channel, then why don't you hit that subscribe button, toggle that notification bell, and that way you'll know when I upload videos just like this. Talking of videos just like this, why don't you check out the videos right here? Yeah, these ones here. You'll love them. Thanks for watching.